Alright, this is a tutorial on painting a BMX frame, like this one in front of you. This one's blue, and we're going to change the colour, so it's not going to be blue when we finish with it. So what you need to do is get yourself some newspaper and lay the frame down and look at it, and then get yourself some of this stuff. It's called paint stripper. Can you read that there? It's fast acting. And these things are called gloves, and they protect your hands from the paint stripper, because paint stripper is like acid and it will burn through your skin. And don't put it in your eyes, you'll go blind. Paint it onto the frame like this, and then once that's done, it'll sort of start eating into the frame, and then it'll bubble up like that. It has all these little bubbly things on it, and it looks kind of like bubbly. Get yourself one of these things. Some people call them scrapers, but I think that's pretty much correct. And scrape the frame, and then scrub it with a toothbrush. Don't use it on your teeth afterwards. You might paint strip your teeth off. And then get one of these things from your mum and rub it over and get rid of the paint as well. Because what you want to do is remove all of the paint. And this stuff is called paper sand. Some people call it sandpaper. Fold it in a couple of bits like that. Fold it in 3 over the top of each other. And then rub it all over the frame like this guy's doing. Sand, sand, sand. And see this little bit of paint just here? The guy's going to point. There it is. See that? You sand it. You can get rid of that paint as well. And then it's all back to bare metal. And then if there's any stubborn little bits, like they don't want to come off and stay at the party, you can use a little bit of a razor blade. And now it's clean. There's no paint left on it. It's raw steel. 4130 chromo. This stuff here is called wax and grease remover. The reason it's called wax and grease remover, because it removes wax and grease. And then rub it over the frame because it gets rid of all the stuff. This here is called circling cutting. And then you can peel that off there and you've got yourself a little circle. There you go, nice. Otherwise it's called masking up the bearings and putting tape in the holes where the brake mounts sit, so the paint doesn't go in there. And then on the headset, tape up that bit and pat it down a couple of times, just like this guy's doing. And then rub it around, there we go. And this thing is called a thingy-bob for the Duvalaki. And get one of them and hang it up. And then it'll suspend your frame so you can paint it. And this stuff here is called etch primer. Shake the cans up a couple of times. Get it all mixed up, make sure the thing rattles. Spray it so it's coming out. And then on the first coat of the etch primer, you just do a very light spray over. Not too heavy to start with. And make sure your can's not too close. Otherwise you're going to get too much paint. And not too far away, you won't get enough on there. You need to be sort of like the Goldilocks story. Just right. Spray it over, lightly all over. It's called a dusting. And then once that's dry, give it a good solid coat of etch primer. All over the place. Don't miss any bits. You can see the masking on the bearings there. And then when it's dry, get your sandpaper that you use, put it in some water, and sand the frame down. This will make it nice and smooth. And then you might sand through some of that etch primer, like you're going to see. There it is. Back to the metal. Don't worry. Once you've cleaned it all down with an old Vans sock and made it all dust free, give it a little bit of a touch up with the etch primer again. Just like that. That's the sound effects because we couldn't afford any. And then make sure you put a hat on, because if it's hat wearing season, you wear a hat. That's why it's called hat wearing season. If you're doing this not in hat wearing season, well, wear a hat in the sun. Sand it down, and if you sand through in that little bit there, just give it another coat of etch primer. Now then, testing how to spray properly. Push down as it goes. As it goes 1, 2, 3, push down. But don't have it too close, otherwise it's going to look like bleh. You can see it's just like nah. So a bit of a test run to start with before you get started. And here we're painting with 2 different cans of paint. One's a fluoro yellow and one's a dark yellow. So we're going to do like the Ghostbusters. We're going to cross the streams, Ray, cross the streams. Right, so we're going to paint. As you can see, it's going on pretty good. And we changed the colour to yellow. So as it's going through, the streams are crossing of the paint, and it turns out pretty schmick. Look at that. It's all hanging up on the Duvallaki for the thingy-bob. Alright, and then once that's done and it's dry, hang it, take it off its hanger, get the sandpaper in the wetting, and sand it down again. Takes away all the imperfections and makes it smooth, and if you have any runs you can get rid of it and rack the cans again and give it another spray. Hang it up on the Duvallaki for the thingy-bob and give it another spray, crossing the streams with these two different cans. So we're blending the colours as they come out of the cans, and then sand it down again, wet and dry. So this is the bit, the wet bit, because it's going in water. Sanding it down just very lightly, just removing any imperfections. And then here, make sure you wear one glove, because the other hand needs to make sure that the paint is hard. It might be dry, but it may not be hard. So you can feel the hardness of the paint. And when it is, give it another coat of paint, crossing the streams. Hang it in a different spot, as you can see here. We're out of the wind in this one. Use the concentration. And then, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. See how that masking worked on that bearing? And then, sand it down again. But this time, with each time you sand it down, you're getting a lighter and lighter sanding on it each time. And the water helps to sand it down. And then, on that occasion, that was the last coat, so we're going to go with clear. This one here is clear. It doesn't have any colour, it's clear. It's called clear because it is clear. And you can see this frame spinning around on the thingy-bob for the Duvallaki, hanging off the thing there. And as the frame spins around, we give it a coat of clear. And then hang it in another spot. And come up from the bottom of the screen, like a surprise visitor at a party that you've at, and then spray it again with some more clear. Psh, 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 psh. Psh, psh. More sound effects. Psh. And you can see it's looking pretty good. Put a bit of clear on the area where it's going to get the most wear and tear. Psh, psh. Alright, and the frame's spinning around, so it's getting done. And we're coming up towards the end of the tutorial, so hopefully you've learnt a little bit. And if you haven't, watch it again. And then put your bike together once that's all dry. Go out and do a trick and tell Mum how good of a rider you are. Post it on Instagram. People will like it. That's how you get famous.